Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa Thompson, and I am an author living not far outside of Ipswich, and I'm thrilled to be a part of Arts in Celebration this year. I am a middle grade author, so my books are kind of aimed at children age 8 plus. I visit lots of schools. I visit years sorts of 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8. So that's the kind of range that my books cover. And I have some of them here. Here are some books that I've written. I'm probably best known for The Goldfish Boy, which was my debut that came out a few years ago. And then I wrote The Light Jar, then The Day I Was Erased, and The Boy Who Fooled the World is my latest big book that came out last January. And I'm still writing now. I'm actually in the process of editing my next book, which will be out next January 2021, which is a spin-off to my first book, The Goldfish Boy. So that's been a really good experience for me, going back to characters that I already know. I never do that, so I've thoroughly enjoyed that, actually. And I thought, for Arts in Celebration, I would read a chapter from one of my other books. Now, this is a book called Owen and the Soldier, and I was very lucky in that I was shortlisted for the Blue Peter Book Prize. So that was a huge honour for me. I'm a big fan of Blue Peter and have been since I was a child. So I'm going to read the very first chapter of Owen and the Soldier. This is actually a novella. It's a short book. So if you like short books, I can compare the two there. And then that's the kind of book for you. So I won't tell you what happens in the story. I'll just let you have a little listen. So here we go, chapter 1. Everyone has a secret, don't they? Not a big fat secret like they robbed a bank or they poisoned their grandma by accident, but small secrets, something people keep hidden deep inside, hoping it won't bubble up their throat and burst out of their mouth for everyone to hear. Maybe some people secretly wish there could be a stuntman in a Hollywood film, or perhaps they secretly fancy Amelia Carey in Class 9A. Or maybe their secret is something a bit different, like mine. Maybe they like to sit on a bench in the park and talk to a soldier. Not a living, breathing soldier, but a soldier made of stone. There was a stone soldier in our park. The park wasn't really used anymore, except as a shortcut on the way to somewhere else. There was an old toilet block that had bars on the windows and was always locked. And there was a tennis court in the middle that was free to use. Someone stole the net last summer, so now it was just a rectangle of tarmac with a fence around it. I walked across the park on my way home, to and from school. There was a war memorial garden behind some high hedges, and I always looked in at the stone soldier inside. He sat on a bench all on his own. And one day I saw he looked different. There was a white stain across the top of his cap. At first I thought someone had scribbled graffiti on the soldier, but when I got closer I realised it was bird poo. There was no one around, so I went in and over to the bench. I got my drinking bottle out of my bag and dribbled some water on top of his head to wash the poo away. The water poured over his cap and ran down his face. I sat beside him on the bench. "There's no need to cry about it," I said, as I watched the water drip onto the dusty ground. "You can't sit there with poo on your head, can you? You'd look like a right idiot." The stone soldier stared down at the floor. He wore a uniform from the First World War and sat leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. I'd looked at the soldier many times as I walked past, but I'd never seen him close up before. There were a few lines across his forehead and his lips were pressed together. Some of his chin had crumbled away and half of one of his boots was missing. I thought he must have been sitting in the garden for a long time. "Do you like being a soldier?" I asked him as I studied his face. Dad once told me that in the last 2 years of the First World War, men didn't have a choice about fighting. The people in charge of the country made them go to war. I thought the stone soldier must have been one of those men. He didn't look so brave to me. He just looked like a normal man who was made to go to war. "I don't think you like it really, do you?" I said, as I put my water bottle away and spotted a pack of tissues in the bottom of my bag. Mum had put them in there months ago. They were covered in tiny yellow ducks, and far too embarrassing to use in school, but I kept forgetting to throw them away. I took a tissue out and began to wipe some of the water off of the soldier's cheek. "Sorry about the ducks," I said. I thought the soldier looked better now that he didn't seem like he was crying. I used another tissue to wipe the last of the poo from his head. Then I got up and put them in a bin by the hedge. The small area behind the hedge was known as the War Memorial Garden, but there weren't any flowers or plants in it. There was just the stone soldier on the bench, the bin, and a plaque with 25 names engraved on it. Those were the names of men from our town who died during the First World War. I once asked Dad which one the soldier was, but Dad said that he represents all of the soldiers who died and that he wasn't a real person. I wanted to ask Dad what regiment he might have been in if he had been real, but I hadn't seen my dad for 2 years now, so that wasn't going to happen. I sat back down on the bench and took out a tin foil parcel. Inside was my leftover sandwich that I hadn't finished at lunchtime. I normally had ham and lettuce, but today I had fish paste because that was all I could find in the cupboard. As I ate my sandwich, I watched the sun and shadows flicker across the soldier's back. I almost thought I'd see him move as he took a deep breath and sighed. I screwed up the tin foil and put it back into my bag, and then I stood up. "Well, I'll see you tomorrow then," I said, and I went out past the hedge. And that was how it all started. That was when I began to talk to the stone soldier. There we are, and that's the first chapter of Owen and the Soldier. I hope you enjoyed that.